call this work session of Loma City Council to order. It is 5:35 p.m. on Monday, February 10th, 2025. But yeah, this is a work session, strategic plan overview. You all should have the strategic plan document there. I think, and I'll turn it over to you, just like the idea was to incorporate everything that we talked about at our strategic plan retreat. So that doesn't mean that everything that is in there right now should be in there. It's literally just the funnel that everything fell into. And then tonight we can try to kind of narrow it down, or as the name would imply, be more strategic. I think the city manager did things a little bit just to kind of keep things consistent, but the content should be reflective of what we talked about. And I think you said you prioritized it based on how many like little dots people put by things. So that should be reflected there and sort of the order. But again, that's something we can discuss tonight. And you have the survey responses here as well. Retreat, just to kind of help guide some of our discussion of prioritization and everything that we have. Early 2024. So just if you're wondering to yourself, what do our residents think is important, you can find that in the survey document. So.
Great, thank you, Mayor McMorran. So I think the
roll call.
Oh, sure, we can do roll call.
All right. Jessica Andrade.
Present.
Diane Crocker.
Here.
Spencer Irwin.
Here.
Red Caseman.
Here.
Richard Salsa.
Present.
Mr. McMorran.
Here.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Works as a good sound check as well for.
Yeah. And I didn't know Councilor Andrade was here, so see, that's good to know.
Yeah. So, as the mayor said, I didn't filter any of these really. It was more about everything that I heard, everything that was written. I tried to find a theme that I felt like it fit well under, or if it was an objective, I tried to find a goal that it felt well under. Some of what was written, overall takeaway from the retreat was I felt like every group needed more time on every step, every group, which maybe was good because it kind of kept the pedal to the metal in some regard. But I also felt like some good ideas didn't get completely fleshed out. So tonight's a good opportunity to do that. If you jotted some quick notes down, I tried to copy those over to here. So if you want to expand on those notes, or you recognize it as your idea that didn't get fully, vetted or discussed, then tonight's a great night to take an opportunity to do that, inform the rest of the council on what your thoughts were with that objective or that point that you were making. There's some repeats in here, just because some things were already on there and people came up with new ideas that got added, and so they're in multiple places. Let's identify those and just figure out which goal and or theme we want to keep them under. I think we're still, not to throw a number out there, but I think we're still long in the tooth for like number of goals for some of these themes, where we can trim it back just a little bit and really prioritize what is the most important thing over the next 3 to 5 years. So there's some things that, again, may be great ideas. We just need to reconcile that we're just not going to be able to get to everything. So I'm hoping to have a productive meeting. The intent after this meeting would be for staff to take this to the management team, and as a management team to go through those goals and objectives and develop some action plans for this specific year. We probably may even look for like next year as well, just so there's some consolation. Like, it's really important, just not this year important. Looking at next year, I don't know that we'll do action items going out 5 years, but definitely for the next year or two, we'll look at those action items that we'll be willing to do and bring that back I fully anticipate we'll do a little bit more discussion and maybe some more prioritization once that happens. And then we'll get to a point where we've got a document that we can roll over into the strategic or into the budget. So starting with theme 1, I'm just gonna go through these and I'll just request that council members, if it's okay with the mayor, just take a little bit more liberty and just interrupt or interject, and let's just kind of be speedy and kind of go through where we got it.
Councilor Crocker.
Is it governance or is it government? What is the title of this one?
So this,
It's not consistent. Each one, some are blue and some are red.
yeah, so it used to be responsive, effective, and transparent government. And I think we're governance, and we're switching to good governance and community engagement.
I think good governance doesn't sound
What do you like instead?
grammatically
I hear that.
strong. Good governance, really? I'm calling this a book. I don't think it's proper. But anyway,
The twist there was to try to pull in the community engagement part, especially the council and the city as a whole are doing, to roll that into that governance piece. But I don't care what the adjective is.
what if we take good out and just call it governance and community engagement? Would that work? Oh, it's
I'll just note that it is I'll just note it is an actual phrase, good governance. I think it's fine.
Okay,
Okay, we're gonna leave
I
it.
can accept.
The first goal was the city. Let me preface, all of the goals I went through grammatically and tried to make the goals like goal statements, like this is where we want to get to. So it's not like continue to maintain, obtain, but it's just this is the goal, right? So the goal 1.1 is the city budget has appropriate reserves within each fund. That's where we're trying to get to. That's the goal, right? So that by the time we're done with these projects, we can say the city budget has appropriate reserves within each fund. That's the goal, right? So rather than like maintain a budget with appropriate reserves. So I've gone through and grammatically changed each of the goals to be goal statements as opposed to
Good.
challenges or kind of voiced differently as they've done traditionally. So that was the first one that definitely came across kind of top priority. There's 2 objectives there: maintain a general fund ending balance equivalent to at least 5 months. Black means that it was there before and maybe got moved. If it got moved, I changed the numbering, but otherwise left it black. So that's an existing objective. Same with 1.1.2, maintain appropriate reserves in each of the enterprise funds, which would be water, sewer, street, etc. And then the action item is adopting a financial policy that establishes reserve amounts. Again, that was existing. We did hear that several times in the comments submitted, so I didn't write it multiple times. It's just, it's captured, it's there. But that was a objective that got brought up a couple of different times during the retreat. And then the other action item there, consider establishment of a local gas tax. Again, that was a carryover from the previous strategic plan.
Do we have great need? I mean, I think that would be a very unpopular decision.
It was a look at revenue, I think specifically for streets, and how do we get more money towards our streets rather than doing a increase in the street fee that we have.
We have to get
You
some.
tell me, how of a priority is it?
I will just say it was a top Councilor Matt Lehman priority. And
Secret.
what I was going to say, and then it's up to us how top of a rest of us priority it is.
Yes, my question was, do we need it? I mean, if we do need it, we need the money, then perhaps we're catching some tourist dollars coming through, picking up gas on the way, and that's a good thing. But if we don't, then we won't even think about it.
I think if I can, it's just, I think that's a good question. I think that's why it was considered the establishment of a gas tax would be part of Councilor Lehman's thought process behind it, was just that, you know, increasing street fees on our utility bills directly increases the cost for us and no one else, whereas a gas tax, we have a lot of people who who buy gas in Philomath and aren't Philomath residents, but, I think whether or not we need it is a decision of the council.
And I don't know, you have enough information to make that decision
Yeah.
right now, so it's just a matter, do we want to consider a gas tax at some point here in the next few years?
And I do remember, I think I remember Jessica's like thumbs up. I remember Jessica also was having
Yeah.
quite a bit of conversation about it when Matt was talking about it too. About looking into it.
We should leave it. So we can consider it.
Okay, so leave both the objectives and both the action items,
Sure.
okay? And goal one priority, we're good with, that's a high priority under good governance, would be budget appropriation or appropriate reserves within each of the funds.
Yeah, I guess, on the objectives, I'm assuming those would then, like, do those ever come off? Cause it feels like at some point, that's not really the strategic plan anymore, it's just like, have a good ending fund balance, like, yeah.
Well, we've been building up towards the, 5 months operating expenses. Honestly, best practices would be more than 5 months worth. It would be to do more. It was just, we were building that up on the backs of a general fund fee.
Right.
And so it was, let's at least get to there with the general fund fee, and then the general fund fee would go away. Ideally, we would continue to build that up more. I mean, you don't need, 3-year supply, but, having a year supply of funding and reserve for when things come up isn't a bad best practice. But we wouldn't want to do it on the backs of an additional fee or something else. We'd want to do it under this notion of good governance and not spending all the money that we get every year,
Like, I guess, if we complete the first action, can we have an action under, like, do we have a specific policy on that 5 months operating expenses?
I think the problem is that objective 1.1.2 is one of these maintain, and the first one
Right.
is maintain, and I think we
Right.
need to reword them a little bit.
Right, I guess I'm agreeing with you, I'm just thinking
Build,
like,
can we say build on the first one and maintain on the second one?
like if we could have an action of like implementing a written policy from the council that this is the ending fund balance that we will maintain, then we have that in the code or somewhere, and then we can take this off of the strategic plan, not because we no longer care about it, but because we've baked it into
Good, that's what I was gonna ask.
procedures. In the strategic plan to like have monthly payroll, because we just have that in a policy somewhere. So,
I did want to interrupt for 1 second. Just so you know, Jessica did convey that she may not always be able to speak, so
okay.
just keep an eye.
She was waving her hand, but she was behind the
He's
lens.
doing a lot of thumbs up, so I just want you to be aware that
Yes.
if you were not here when we were talking about the
Okay. Yeah, we couldn't see you for a second, Councilman, but now.
Now we can see you.
So if we're most of the way to 5 months operating expenses, is that the appropriate number still, or do we want like a quick check mark, or do we wanna move that to whatever we think the end goal was?
I think where the mayor's going is the objective should be to establish a policy and get an approved policy on stating what those ending fund balances should be and a plan to get them there. And if, once we say that we've attained that, we don't necessarily have to, that could be a new objective, but at this point, the primary objective, I think, is to establish a policy for ending fund balances for the general fund and the enterprise funds.
I think the way I view this, and maybe I'm the only, if other people view it differently, the strategic plan to be something we can check off. And so if it's something that is a more permanent thing that we aren't gonna stop doing, the way we check it off the strategic plan is then by like putting it into the city code or into some other like ongoing policy. But like the strategic plan shouldn't be like the city policy book. It's like the projects to complete over the next 5 years book. So for things like that, like obviously we always want to maintain a general fund ending balance. So then the way we can achieve that is by putting it into some more permanent policy.
when we banty around spending money, it would be good if, our financial people would tell us we're about to break into our 5-month supply.
Right, sure.
Just giving us a heads up that we may not want to spend that money because that's part of our 5-month reserve.
Yeah.
I mean, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I know like at the school district, they have a similar, like there's a board policy saying they have to maintain like a certain percentage, reserve, and then they have sometimes eaten into that, but it is what you're talking about of like,
Yeah.
right, the board has to like vote to, override themselves when they have to, but they try not to. But then at least it is like a conscious decision, not just like, oh, oops, we spent the reserve. So, yeah.
Be happy with either thing. I think it wouldn't be unreasonable to have an objective to get to where we want to be and then maintain the policy of that and then
Right.
check it off, or do we follow the policy after we make it to get to where we want to be? Either thing kind of makes sense to me. It's sort of circular, right? Like once you get halfway there, you're halfway there, but I do agree that I would love things that come off.
Right. Does that give you some direction, Chris?
Yeah.
What if we take it off and we're gone in 4 years and somebody else comes on and they just start spending money without having the forethought that this is a good thing? If you took the policy or the objective off, it would not guide them.
Well, I think, so that's what I'm saying is it would be taken off the strategic plan, but it would go into the city code or into some other document that also guides what we do, and honestly guides it in a more formal way than because the strategic plan is more sort of like recommendations of where the council wants to go, but it's not like legally binding, whereas if we put it into the code, then it is.
I mean, based on the groups that met and the feedback, I mean, this was still pretty high, that the council as a policy wanted to see that we had a policy adopted for getting and ending fund balances where we felt they needed to be without pinpoint exactly where that was, but building that policy, I think, was the primary objective that I was reading. So if we combine it, just to simplify it, if we just combine it down to one objective to build appropriate ending fund balances in the general fund and ending fund or in enterprise funds as the objective to build them, and the action item stays as we've got it, right? We're gonna adopt a financial policy. Once the policy's in place, then check, right? We've got a financial policy in place now. We've still got the objective that we're shooting for, which is to build those. So it allows a little bit of time. This time next year, we might add a different action item on specific steps we want to take to do that. But I think as an objective, I do think it makes sense to say we do need to build ending fund balances in each of the funds right now. I mean, all of them need it, and that it's a good policy direction for the council to have.
Jessica's had her hand up a couple of times without being called on. I don't know if she has something now, but she has been raising her hand.
Counselor Andrade.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I think that exactly. I think we're all, for the most part, trying to get at the same thing of like having the policy written somewhere, either in the code. I'm thinking like a handbook, departmental or something like that, that the department heads are like bound to follow.
So I'm right back. So we'll do the first objective. We'll combine the first objectives, the language I propose, and we'll keep the 2 action items in there. Okay, goal 1.2, operations and city service levels are continually improving. Not overall crazy about that one, but it was trying to get at the idea of implementing the objective, which again was from before, implement appropriate technology to improve efficiency and expand transparency. That's a little generic as compared to like a task that we're gonna take on or an objective to get done. Maybe that's a better goal, but like I said, I was just putting down what I got. And then the action item that did come through from the meeting was, from the retreat, was improved remote and hybrid meeting capabilities.
I don't like the way that's written. What if we keep updating operations and city service and not leave the continually improving part. I guess, I don't think I'm saying what I want to say, but
Get rid of the continually improving somehow. Okay, well, I can wordsmith 1.2. We don't need to spend a lot of time in the meeting doing the wordsmithing, but does everybody agree we need to reword goal 1.2 a little bit?
Yeah. Could you just say like have, yeah, like exceptional operations in city services or something?
judgment.
I mean, it's all a little bit of a judgment, right? Like,
And we are limited by money, so update as funds allow to have a excellent, I forget what I'm saying, I'll be quiet.
Counselor Salsa?
Oh,
Okay, cool, thanks. As a goal, you want to have something there. It may just be something simple like operations and city services are practicing continuous improvement. You know what I mean? Like that's a goal that's very tangible. You know what I mean? It's then their objectives basically is what then fulfills the goal. So I'll say that again, operations and city services are practicing continuous improvement. It's a statement rather than sort of this cloud
Feel
sort
that
of thing that's like that. Yeah,
How do you feel about implementing continuous improvement?
right. Exactly. Yeah.
How do we feel about the actual are we happy with the improving remote hybrid meeting capabilities in there?
Jasmine's doing a thumbs up right
Yes.
now. On the
Jessica,
remote
did you have
hybrid.
other comments?
um,
Jessica?
I was just gonna say that, on that note, that when we talked, Chris had said that the goals were kind of reworded. I would say that there are a couple of them that still don't necessarily flow, like 3.5, 3.6, 3.7. We are good stewards. Philomath has beautiful, promote healthy and clean. And so, I guess just figuring out what the what is, or the who, the what or the who might be helpful in rephrasing those goal names. But as for your question about remote hybrid meeting capabilities, definitely, please.
I would like to see like communication in there. I mean, I think some great strides have been made on keeping things posted and the newsletter and all the stuff that comes out. And just communication can be a part. I think that's as important as the remote capabilities or whatever.
Is there, and I get that, and I think we have done a great job, is there an improvement type project in the communications that we want to identify? Because what you're saying is right, but I don't want to do maintain, right?
Well, I think aren't we upgrading some of our systems right now, which is,
Website, we'll have that done by the end of the year, so I kind of left the website off of there and put it as done fiscal year 2024, but otherwise the website was in there.
yeah,
That was all there. I just figured by the end of this fiscal year, we'll have that mostly
yeah.
up and running, so
It's
the biggest
just
software otherwise.
technology to help us communicate to the city services and operations.
We want to add an objective specific to
Like, one thing I've been thinking about, which seems like it ties into that, but let me know if it's different, is just something about like responding to constituent concerns or idea, like some sort of more centralized, I don't know, take every word that's coming out of my mouth with a little grain of salt, but just like, I know that's something that I struggle with sometimes, is like constituents will reach out to me and then I'll kind of try to like pass that along to staff, but then I won't be sure where it went or what happened with it, but then they follow up with me and then I'm like, I don't know, and then I'll call Chelsea, and Chelsea's like, oh no, that was a Kevin thing, and then I'll call Kevin, and he's like, oh, I think I talked to Gary about that, and then I'll talk to Gary, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and I'll talk to Chris, and he's like, oh no, I gave that to Gursky, and I'm like, oh, okay, and it's just some sort of way of like, and I feel like it is kind of the eternal struggle of like the council manager thing, right, of like, the constituents come to us, but we can't actually do anything about it ourselves, but just some way of kind of smoothing out, like you just some sort of like constituent issue tracker or something, just so like we can check and be like, oh yeah, it looks like, you know, this is in progress and it has an estimated date of, you know, they're gonna fix it in June or something, because I feel like that people, you know, even if people have to wait a year for something to get solved, they at least like to know that we're aware of it and it's on the list and that kind of thing. But the words I have used do not constitute a strategic plan item, but hopefully we can distill something out of that if that's something the rest of the council feels. But
So like, almost like a support ticket system or something.
right, just because I feel like that's the part of our jobs that we don't have great systems for. Like I feel like the policy and budget and everything part of our jobs we have good systems for, as far as like introducing things to the strategic plan, introducing ordinances, and doing the budget process. Like I feel like those part of our jobs, the sort of like governance, we're pretty good at, but it's the like the other part of the elected job, which is the like community relations and constituent work, that I feel like we struggle with sometimes. But and obviously we can't do everything every constituent wants, but like at least tracking.
The response.
Yeah.
Registered the objective to implement a constituent comment/concern tracker.
Something like that.
There's,
Yeah.
the new website might have some capability. There are
Okay.
systems out there that can do that. There's some things, so we can take a look at it. I
Okay,
think it's worth
okay.
dropping it in there. It's a good spot to have it if nothing else. Okay, goal 1.3. This came in kind of the end of our retreat.
Wait a second, please.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay.
Sorry.
Why is the action explore ways to post the budget and other financial information crossed out?
I think because we put that under written policies, I think. 1.6, community facing budget documents, I think that was incorporating a couple
makes
things
sense.
that were talked about.
Thank
I think
you.
it combined
appreciate
that there were some talks about a policy for it and there were talks about get it on the website in different
Mhm.
ways.
Thank you. That makes much more sense.
Okay.
Goal 1.3 then, Philomath Community has a 20-year vision for the future. Again, it was careful on the wording there. It's not the city, it's the community, right? So the first objective would be secure funding for community visioning consultant and unify stakeholders around the need for a comprehensive community vision. Didn't vet that out a lot further. I think that's kind of first objective, and then we can kind of look at action items, what that would actually look like. Does everybody like how that's worded or any changes there? Okay, hearing none.
Difficult to do because you have to guarantee some response from the community and get involved in it. And yeah, like the 2000 did that. And if we could find a nice round date, 250.
Well, I was gonna say, if we do a 25-year vision,
2050.
Yeah,
yeah,
That
I
would
feel
be
like
good.
that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
But that's getting into the weeds a little bit.
Yeah.
We're already thinking about it. Good. All right, goal 1.4, and again, stop me at time, but I'm just gonna keep kind of pushing, just keeping an eye on the clock here. Council and staff regularly engage with residents. Objective is the same but renumbered, engage with the public on a regular basis. A little generic, I don't know if that's really like task or program, but again, it was there before, so if we need to tweak it, we can. And then those two action items were already there as well. I didn't feel like that's, either of those are things that we like can check and say we've done those things yet, but they are things that we could do. I'm just not crazy about the wording of the objective if anyone wants to throw something out there.
Clear. I understand it.
Maybe it's fine.
And I think we're taking baby steps, the copy with
guess-
the counselor and the music in the park stuff.
The only thought I have on this is for the goal, the wording of the goal itself. Instead of regularly, change it to like meaningfully. Because.
That means we have to really work on it.
Well, just because something I've been thinking about a lot is like, if we constantly ask people what they want and what they think we should do and what their feelings are and what they want and what they think we should do and what their feelings are, and then we don't really do anything with that, not only is that annoying, I feel like it almost makes the problem worse than if we
Another
didn't ask
survey.
in the first place, you know? So like, I think I want to focus on more of the meaningful side of it, like, you know, almost like, even if that means, you know, instead of going out and being at the coffee shop every week, what if we just do every other month, but we actually get something out of it and we can show that like, you know, this concern was brought up at the farmer's market and this is what we did with it, kind of thing. Like, yeah.
Will the council and staff have meaningful engagement with residents?
Yeah, something like that. Which I feel like ties into that kind of constituent communication thing, but yeah.
Meaningful
And-
leaves a little bit.
Sure.
Perhaps targeted also. Intentional,
Like-
I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that could be more of like an objective of like, you know, to target, you know, underserved group. I don't want to say target, maybe that sounds aggressive. Reach out to.
I think intentional might be the better
Yeah, sure.
focused.
I mean, I've gone to a couple of coffee with counselors, we've gotten some ideas.
Right,
I have shared some of them, but I don't,
right,
it's
exactly.
like it dies right
Yeah.
there. And follow through on.
Right,
what they do.
yeah.
What if we had an intentional to the objective, have intentional engagement with the public on a regular basis?
I still
like
like
that's-
meaningful, but
Meaningful. Well, meaningful in the goal, but in the objective.
oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
Intentional engagement with public on a regular basis would be like, check, we have like,
right, yeah,
that way
yeah.
we are actually implementing
Yeah.
something to have
No, I like that.
intentional engagement.
Right, as opposed to just like, oh,
Engage with
so and
them.
so told me at Youth Group yesterday, but we actually got it. Okay.
Okay, and the 2 action items? Those are, again, remaining on there, so I left them on there unless anybody feels like they're not high priority. The toolkit's a fairly simple one. We've been more and more active with that. The LLC recently, I say recently, like a year and a half ago, added a toolkit on there. My thought was to do a work session. I don't know that we need somebody from LLC to come through and do that. I think we could just take a work session and kind of go through it. And it's really gonna be up to each council member on how engaged they wanna be with that process, but it'd be at least good to spend an hour to go through the toolkit, recognize what's there. So that's just a work session.
Am I the only one that doesn't feel qualified to update residents about state legislative process? Does everyone else feel like they can speak to that? I'm not talking to you. But I think I might be the only one.
Oh, I got a guy, no?
That just seems a little lofty to me.
Would it be during one of the regular city council meetings, this annual update, or what's the context?
That was honestly, believe it or not, I think before my time.
It's been on there a while.
Yeah. I think the way I've been reading it is more like we've intentionally worked for legislators to like make sure they come hold town halls here and that they, you know, visit businesses in town and that, you know, that kind of thing, but it could be read a different way. Like, I would almost want to like
Strike it.
well, or rephrase, just like provide opportunities for residents to engage with, like, you know, state and federal lawmakers or something. Like, I
like it.
something
Well,
like
like the
that.
camping rules that changed and
Right,
out by
right.
6 or whatever it was. A lot of people asked about that, and so I had to read up on it before I felt qualified to even talk about it.
Yeah,
And that sort of thing concerns me. But I like the give opportunity to learn. to hear our,
It could be as easy as newsletter articles or having the website updated. Maybe it's a page on the website that deals with, here's the legislative matters that the city of Philomath is working with their legislators on, and that's the way to
Yeah.
I like
push that out. So, I mean, there's things we can do that
Yeah.
we're not doing.
not as
Yeah.
individuals, but as a.
Yeah,
as
and
a
maybe
group.
a brief or something for us in the packet or something that just says this just happened, so if somebody asks you questions, here, you know, like a short brief so that I have the key points
Yeah.
I like that.
and who to ask about it or whatever besides the mayor.
We can phrase that.
I just got provide, because whether it's they're coming or
Yeah.
I just put provide opportunities for residents to learn about state legislative processes and matters.
Yeah. The only thing is I might even broaden it out besides just state, like just, but we can figure that out. Like I was like, what's the county up to?
County,
Who
too,
knows? Yeah.
That wouldn't actually hurt because there's frequently confusion with the constituents about
Right.
whether it's our fault
Right.
or, you know, I'm like, actually, county's fault on that one, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that.
And I do just feel like the county government is kind of slept on in general.
Yeah.
Like, I know I've talked to the commissioners who used to be city councilors, and they talked about how they got way more emails as a city councilor representing like, 8,000 people than they get as a commissioner representing like 100,000 people, because no one thinks about the county government. But yeah. Yes. So now we're gonna put. Well, no, sorry, we should go.
Go on page 1.
So I'm gonna set 1.5, as you've seen in the agenda. I don't know that this is a problem that needs fixing. I feel like we had a little bit of slump where we had several vacancies there, but we traditionally have not had a hard time filling positions and vacancies. And I think just that was just front of mind for a lot of the council members at the retreat. But I think 1.5, I don't mind having something in there, but I think there's a lot of stuff in here that the way that we're currently recruiting people is working really, really well. We're adding more people. I think after tonight's meeting, we'll be completely full on all of our committees and stuff. So I don't want to spend a lot of time and a lot of emphasis on trying to get people onto our committees when we already have a process for that, and it seems to be working very effectively.
Do you know if we could just put this as like an objective under engagement? Like something about like make, ensure public awareness of city committee or commission opportunities. Just something of like, I just feel like I don't know if it needs its own goal, but.
Yeah, so put it under 1.2 somewhere.
Yeah. The other thing, because right now we like open them and then close them, right? Is that?
Depends. I mean, I think the safety committee's been open most of the year, and we had an opening there. The budget committee, we've been opening on since last year, and it's just stayed
Okay.
open. It's really just when we really start pushing it in the
Right,
newsletter
sure,
and
okay.
Facebook, social media.
Yeah. Like the county, a lot of them you can just like apply for whenever, and then if there's a vacancy,
Keep a
and
list
they like you,
going.
they'll like call you up and be like, hey, can you come talk to the commissioners next week?
Yeah, I think it's how you word it on the website. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll
sure.
continue to do the online registration, we're on the online application.
Okay.
But we could change the wording on the website to make that where, hey, we keep an active list of people interested. Thing.
Okay.
For fairness, you'd still want to have we're opening the recruiting, we're going to contact anybody who's expressed interest in the past, but we're still going to leave it open for, at least a couple weeks, 2, 4 weeks. So, okay, I'll look to move this as an objective under 1.2.
Makes sense.
Jessica?
That sounds great. I wonder if, looking at 1.5.1 actions and then also 1.7, I wonder if it's worth having a goal that's something about like getting community members more involved in governance and kind of building that pipeline so that we're engaging more people so that it's not necessarily the same people who volunteer over and over and over again because of the youth advisory council, like establishing that, like that can help funnel youth into city governance positions. And then same with the establishing some sort of program or financial opportunity to sponsor volunteers who are interested in, you know, campaigning for a council position to be able to attend like an LOC meeting. When I went to the annual conference, I think it was 2 years ago, I met a couple of planning commissioners who were thinking about running for council, and then saw them last year. So just something to, like, as counselors. So it might be something worth considering, and lumping them together in that kind of pipeline to city government positions.
I like it as long as it's equitable for everybody that's interested. And if we get the word out, because it would be bad if we just had one or two people learn about it and then somebody else says,
Oh,
well,
for
I
sure.
want to, and there's no time for them to learn. But
In
You
which
mentioned
case, that action might be consider establishing a program, like to be able to, you know, put everything together, figure out how to do it the right way. Sorry, you were saying something, Chris?
You mentioned goal 1.7. Do you see that rolling in as an objective under 1.2 as well? Rather than having goals here, we could drop it down to 5 goals and we'd have a couple of objectives under the goal 1.2.
I guess so, in the sense that building that pipeline is helping to improve city services because of, you know, diverse applicants and elected officials. If we're going at it from that angle, then yeah, that sounds right.
But maybe not 1.2, 1.4, is that what we were talking about moving it to?
Yeah, that could work under 1.4.
1.4,
That was the meaningful part of the revised one.
Mhm. Okay. One of the last action item under 1.5.1, I wasn't sure, again, I tried to capture everything there, but the notes, handwritten notes on that were a little bit hard to get through. And I'm not sure where that came from, but what was the thought behind that last action item about establishing a program /
Sorry,
financial opportunity?
yeah, that's what I was just describing
That's
about,
what you're
like,
referencing, okay.
yeah, about the pipeline opportunities for non-current council members to connect with other council members in, like, current ones in Philomath as well as other cities in Oregon, and, you know, learn about some of the sessions, or I don't know. It doesn't have to be the annual conference or the spring conference with LOC, but there might be some sort of other sort of training that the city is offering, or I don't know.
so we would get, and I'm only speaking for myself, more educated people running, educated about what the job they're about to do, rather than, sure, I'll help.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I think that will just help educate anybody that wants to be a candidate, so they go in with their eyes open on what they are about to do. And I said, I'm only speaking of myself, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. But me.
And for me,
Oh,
Citizens
yeah.
Academy was the perfect
That's what-
gateway. It's in-house, so to speak, it's here. Agreed.
And you both go on budget.
Agreed.
committee. You two are
Yeah.
kind of the like,
I do.
the model of our system working. Obviously, council's also had experience from other means, but yeah,
Mine was also Citizens Academy.
Right,
It
that's
was
right.
great. But for the times when it's not offered, like it hasn't been for a couple of years due to, you know, other circumstances, like I don't know. I just think it might be a good opportunity and it could be based on, like I said, number of hours or something. Like someone's been on the park advisory board for multiple years and is like, you know, I want to learn a bit more about this. Like, I'd like to network and, you know, I don't know.
Okay, I'll look to maybe wordsmith. I understand better what you're going for, so I'll look at an action item that kind of encompasses that. Thank you. So,
And of course, it's all consideration rather than just automatically going for it.
1.6, a lot of policy writing and establishing plans.
If I can say, I personally feel like this should not be its own goal. It should be like within the other goals. If there is a specific policy we want, that should be in, like we did for the financial policies, we put those in good governance. If there's a specific policy we want on economic development, that should go in healthy economy. If there's a specific, like, I feel like we can split this up. I don't think we need a goal.
Make policies goal.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I
It's
see
kind of
what
like
you're saying, yeah.
it's kind of like how we're getting rid of the infrastructure goal and we're putting that under a different category. Like, you know, I don't think we need a goal of policies. We need a goal of having a working city. But sometimes policies help with that.
Okay, so I'm gonna scratch 1.6 for now, and then you all need to be mindful when we
Yeah.
get to other areas, if you feel like there's an opportunity for better policy, better written policy, then we'll bring it up within that item again. Within that,
Would it not go under governance?
Well, I think what I'm saying is some of it would go under governance, like the ones that are under there right now.
that first objective is
Right,
what we
it
talked
is,
about.
yeah. But like for like the 1.6.3, like, you know, some of that would be governance, some of that, like I think as we're going through the other goals and themes, like, are there things that it would help to have a policy for? So we put those under there. Oh, sorry, yeah, Jessica? And Jessica, if you're, okay. I was just gonna say, since I'm bad at looking up there, please, either of you online, just interrupt me if you want to say something and I'm not seeing you.
All right, and we talked about moving 1.7 to goal 1.7 as an objective under 1.4 as well. Rather than having its own
Yeah, sure.
goal.
That makes sense.
I had a little hard time distinguishing between that goal and that objective.
I was gonna say, have a youth advisory council, objective.
It was
make it
submitted as a goal, so I tried it as a goal.
Goal, have lunch, objective. make lunch.
What was the youth group at the, City Day of Canada?
That was this, it was a bunch of different kids from youth advisory
But
councils
wasn't
across.
there a name for it?
Yeah,
So that could be, the better goal is to try to build one of those.
it was a youth advisory council, they were.
It's just from multiple cities.
Multiple.
I knew that, but I thought there was a special name.
I don't think there's a statewide
Yeah, I think,
group. I think it's just individual cities have advisory councils, and they were all invited to come to the Capitol with the
yeah,
league.
but we can double check. Yeah,
I thought
cool.
there was one.
All right, healthy economy.
Healthy economy, goal 2.1. Philomath, downtown Philomath is active and thriving. Again, those subjective words, but I think people generally know what active and thriving can mean. 2.1.1 is from previous, revitalizing downtown. A couple of action items there.
Do we have any remaining URA dollars?
We will know this year, so I mean, I
Okay.
think that's a good action item. I've actually
Yeah.
reached out to a urban renewal area consultant, to a specialist, maybe a better word than consultant, but that's what they do, and they'll be able to look at our books and talk through that. So that'll happen. Staff-wise, it'll happen within the next month or two, but some information may come to the council to make some decisions.
Okay,
Maybe.
I just think we still need, parking, more parking.
Do we have, how do we have that?
We've got it in two places, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we have it.
There's one right here, but
Yeah, okay.
otherwise we've done.
We heard a lot at the retreat, 2.1.2, improve Main Street between 14th and 19th Street. There were several action items and ideas there. I think it works as an objective. And again, those action items, we obviously can't do everything in one year, but staff can talk through those a little bit and bring that back to you.
The only thing on that is if we could change it so it's not just between 14th and 19th Street, but like improve Main Street on like non-streetscapes areas. I feel like some of it, like replace city entries at both sides of town is not 14th to 19th Street. But
The rest of Main Street,
yeah, I don't know how to word it right, but just
a
something
little
about it.
open-ended, but yeah.
Yeah. And then public art. That look good to everyone? Beautiful. Then goal 2.2, Philomath businesses are supported and new development is encouraged. And then a lot of this is like existing objectives and actions until you flip the page. But it looks like the only new one is the try to work on developing or making available for development the lot in between Dollar General and Pullman Family Medicine, because we have some ODOTs with that. And then, oh yes, please.
The time, place, manner, is that just cannabis shops? Or does that refer to something else? Under 2.2,
I think it was, the intent was to look at cannabis, but it was worded to be more
general, but
general. But
is that the only one that's limited because of time, place, manner?
that and potentially psilocybin at some point, but
Which one is this?
2.2 is the first section.
Oh, I'm sorry. The only thing is for the action on the next page of join and participate in the Oregon Main Street program. I feel like maybe that should go on to 2.1 since it was more like a downtown thing.
oh yeah, that's, okay. Yeah.
It feels more of a downtown thing than a business development.
Yep.
What number was it in?
Right now it's under 2.2.3.
Downtown, active and thriving.
Yeah.
2.2.
And then the next, just that one. Gosh, should probably move to 1. Exciting. Okay, anything else on those?
Nope.
All right, 2.3.
2.3, I'll just say blanket, the city, we've got very limited staff, right? I mean,
Right.
cities with community development directors, economic development directors are gonna be much more active in this effort. We partner with REAL, we partner with Small Business Development, we partner with Corvallis Benton County Economic Development. So I specifically partner with those organizations to help give Philoma some of that, so these objectives, I think, are great, but we're pretty limited on our staffing and what we can actually do when it comes to
Right.
living wage jobs, workforce housing, all of those types of buzzwords you hear with economic development. We just don't have a department at the city that does that, or a staff that does that outside of my efforts and trying to work together with our regional partners on that effort.
I also feel like it could be an objective within 2.2. Like, we could rephrase it a little bit and work it. Like, I know this is something I talked about was just trying to like make sure we have some sort of strategy to attract like a broad array of industries and jobs.
I mean, I mean, outside of some zoning code that
Right,
we're looking at, I can't really do anything on 2.3.1
Right.
on expanding mix. I mean, it's, again, it sounds good, but I don't know what the city can really do there. I tracked a grocery store to Flowmouth, again, we're putting all the feelers out, we're doing things, but you know,
Can we have a property that works? That's not going to be.
so we're looking at zoning, we're doing all of these things.
The community center is a lofty goal that may not happen, because again, we don't have a good space to put it, it's gonna cost a lot of money.
That's probably not a great goal to put it under
I was gonna
anyway,
say,
even if we wanted to leave that might be somewhere else we drop that other than there.
I love it, the idea, but I don't think it's gonna.
Okay, so we're gonna change goal 2.3 into an objective. Under 2.2.
And then, like you said, it's kind of a buzzword, but living wage, that's a bit nebulous. It's kind of contextual. What does that actually mean? I think as we attract businesses, we attract jobs, but living wages, I would probably cut that. It just feels a
You
little
can't
bit.
dictate that,
Yeah. What does that even mean in a way?
no. They can eat and drive their car.
I guess that's yeah.
I mean, I think in general, we were looking to encourage the business types that might facilitate that. So rather than pack it full of like convenience stores and fast food places for jobs, it's more like, encourage the tech area to continue to bring in people.
Tech and medical and
Mill,
manufacturing.
have maybe the mills and forestry people, that kind of support. We do a lot for the downtown, or have been. We're working on it, but the idea is to also facilitate. We can't dictate living wage jobs necessarily, but maybe I think we can work towards coordinating with places that tend to. Yeah. Yeah.
1-year job.
Yeah, places like,
Yeah, that's good.
you guys know them. We have 3 pretty good sectors of that type of.
Subjective 2.3.3, did anybody eyeball where to move that to, or?
It feels like it should go on theme.
I think we should take it out,
Like, it feels like it should go under 3.2 if we're gonna have it.
because it's not practical. I mean, we've talked about it before, and including a pool and a senior center, we went on and on, and we just think, right now, we don't have money or, space for it.
Yeah, I think it'll be one of the things that gets discussed in the community visioning process.
Sure.
But it may be too premature to put it under as a sub,
For 5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
5 years.
Get a stakeholder committee to talk about what our vision is, like these 3 items, right? So maybe it's too prescriptive at this point to be naming specific projects, but.
Jessica?
Well, I still think it's something important that we should consider for a couple reasons, but I will note that it is in there as essentially as 3.2.2. It's just it's worded a little bit differently as construct a recreation center. I think, and when I think like a community center, I think of the rec center in Newport. I lived in Newport for several years, and that place has not only places to, exercise equipment and dance rooms and stuff, but you also have a gym for indoor basketball, volleyball, soccer, etc. But also to be able to have events and stuff, and for indoor event spaces that are large and affordable for community members, I think will be important. I don't know, perhaps it's something to consider, looking into, as opposed to outright construct a recreation center or whatever.
Would you be okay moving it to 3.2, community building
Yeah.
events and opportunities?
Yeah, because on there as 3.2.2 construct a recreation center. But it could be rephrased to what was
Yeah.
said before.
Got it.
That works.
Just thinking about
yeah,
like
yeah, just-
the only other like community space that's indoor and large that I can think of that's, you know, flat would be like the high school gym, but I don't know if there are others that I just am unaware of. And like they're busy all the time with sports and stuff, so just thinking about, you know, I think we're gonna need more of those kinds of spaces in the future, especially with our kind of weather.
Wonderful. I think if, then we'll move ahead to, 2.4. Philomath has tourist-related attractions and amenities.
Sorry, I just, spelling error there for Philomath.
Yeah,
Philoamth. I know this is like nitpicky. I would want to phrase that almost like stronger, like Philomath is a place that people want to visit or something. Like I just feel like, you know,
I'm trying to hit both the events and
Sure,
the places
sure,
to go, so
sure.
I was trying to hit both the attraction and amenity, like, you gotta have the places and you gotta have the stuff, right? Like,
Right,
things.
right.
So that's where I was going, but I'm open to whatever.
No, I think that makes sense. I was just reading it as very passive. You know, it's sort of like, it's like, do you want your friends to come over to your house, or do you want your house to be a place where friends can come over? Like, you want your friends to come over to your house, you know. But
make Philomath tourist welcome or something.
Destination, is that
I-
too strong?
I really do like the place where people want to visit because I think that amenities are implied. Like, I don't want to visit
Right.
some place with no toilets, like,
right.
you know.
And I feel like the
And
other thing
it's-
we've talked. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, and it's more understandable, like, just, it's straightforward.
Right. I feel like the other thing is like we've talked about how we don't necessarily want to be a destination, but we're happy being a waypoint to and from
Throughway.
your destination. Then do the objectives and everything look good under that one?
The signage thing, spotlight historic and cultural identities around Philomath, and that could include the Mary's Peak to Pacific Byway. I don't know that that needs to be its own separate thing. 2.4.1 does not need to be separate, I don't think, from spotlighting historic cultural identities, tourist information. Because there's some historical things here, and there's no sign or very little signage that tells tourists where they are and what they are. And there are people that would actually stop and read it or point to that.
Thoughts? Okay.
I think it could be a group or singled out,
Yeah.
and,
I don't have a strong feeling.
I mean,
As long as we keep some mention of the byway in there.
I do like the efforts to capture through traffic, like I
Yeah.
think, the action item under 2.4.3 is a good example of that, and then if there were other nifty things we could, eye-catching things we could do, like the wayfinder signs, or maybe some of those signs that we put, I can't remember, like they had the veterans, or they had peas on them for Christmas, maybe they could highlight a historical thing, or, you know, I don't know, something, you know, something as you're going through to kind of,
Historic site, things. And
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. My husband would stop at any historic site he drove by. And so if we're looking at bringing tourism, that's for some individuals, that would be welcoming. And I think there's a registry or something that would have stuff to help us with that.
So
Historic register.
I mean, the scenic byway is one of the tools to do that, and it's a separate management. I think the reason it's listed separate is we're trying to kickstart a scenic byway maintenance plan committee that's regional, that goes all along Highway 34, that would get together on whatever, quarterly or so, and talk about improvements to the scenic byway, additions, historic sites, types of things. So that was kind of a group that started pre-COVID when we first got the scenic byway designation, that hasn't met consistently since then. And we really haven't done as much with that scenic byway as we could, Highway 34. But that is a great opportunity to bring up points along Philomath that are along that byway that right now don't get highlighted.
Any other thoughts on 2.4?
2.4.5, it does mention somewhere else, that plot of land that we own on, is it 14th and Main? That we can make that a parking lot, and, I mean, it wouldn't take a lot of effort. I don't know that we'd even have to pave it, but if we put gravel down or graded it out so it's a little more flat. And then, you can spray paint lines. I think they did that at the high school, but anyway, as a temporary one. But was there some other use that somebody suggested later on, I thought?
And a whole thing.
Without space.
Yeah, we had a whole study done on that, and there were some recommendations on use of the land that they looked at. The one they settled on was more of a mixed use commercial building with retail and housing up above, and partnered with parking on the backside that could be utilized.
Lower income housing, I think you mentioned, yeah, which, yes, if we can put that there, I would support that over parking, but yeah.
I'll be bringing you some information. We're working on a kiosk at 13th, at that little square where all the pavers are right now, immediately adjacent to Dizzy Hen. There's a little square there that's got all pavers, and the intent is to do a nice pavilion there, like a really nice wood frame pavilion with a digital kiosk underneath. It'll have a touch screen to be able to find a place to eat, find a park, find a whatever, look at a map, look at some businesses, whatever. And so that's in the works right now, as kind of a cool stopping spot for both residents and people passing through town.
Just a time check, it is 6:43, so we clearly are not going to get through all of this. I feel like we also should take a quick break for 7, not to say we're breaking right now, but maybe at 6:50 we'll adjourn the session. So let's try to get through a little bit more here, and then we can kind of come back to this at a few. One thing I just wanted to draw our attention to, if we step away from this document for a second, is on the community survey. I highlighted, at least in my opinion, I think 3 big takeaways, which was that I want to make sure we kind of incorporate. First, if you look at the desired focus text, enforcement of local traffic laws and visibility of police, the police. I think that was supposed to be in the community, but you get the general gist of it. So that was one thing, and then I also circled the 63% of respondents are satisfied or very satisfied with the city's communication with the public. That's good. I'd like it to be more than 63. And then again, desired focus on public works, availability of safe pedestrian ways on streets and routes, and maintenance of major city streets. I think several of these things are already incorporated into this document in various ways, but I think as we think about prioritization, just the fact that these were things that our residents pretty strongly showed a desire for means, in my opinion, we kind of have an obligation to prioritize them.
So just to say, I think if we can keep those in mind.
There's one later that talks about putting the traffic speed sign.
Right, right.
And I think that would take care of some of that.
Yeah.
on
And
the
I
cleaning side.
know some of it is like, the police department was understaffed for several years and now they're not. But I still think showing the community that we heard that, we responded to it, we can check it off the list, that kind of thing is important. Even if it was more of a coincidental checking it off the list, we were aware of it. We intentionally ensured they got the staffing they needed. We added another position, we added the sergeants, and now they are out enforcing traffic laws more than they were, so.
Well, Chief Gursky was saying now that they have 2 people per
Right.
shift, he could put a car out on Main Street or by the
Right.
schools
Right,
on a regular basis.
Right.
So they're aware, the community's aware that they're out there.
right.
And I think that would be a big step. And I have not seen that happen yet, but he said that they are.
I see them out on Main Street a lot,
Oh,
yeah.
good. Where have they been?
I've seen them out here quite a bit. They'll be in, sometimes when I leave work, they're in the city hall parking lot. I've seen them down here. This morning I saw someone pulled over on the
Yeah.
way to work, and then I know they've been going to the schools.
By
The
the
chief
schools
had
all
said that he's sending people regularly, yeah.
That's huge, I think.
Yeah,
They were in front of the fire station the other day and they changed the billboard, say,
Yeah, that's really good.
like something like warning, Philomath PD on the hunt or something like that.
Speakers. Who would do that?
We have a name, we won't disclose it.
So just to say, I think we want to spend just 5 more minutes talking about this, but just, start kind of, I think maybe the next discussion is just, are we okay with removing the theme about strong and resilient infrastructure and breaking that out into the specific category, sort of like we're doing for policies. We're not saying we don't care about resilient infrastructure anymore. We're just saying that for public safety infrastructure, that will go under public safety, and for, neighborhood infrastructure, that'll go under community well-being, that kind of thing.
That's where most of it falls into community well-being,
Yeah.
quality of life, or it fell under safety.
Right.
So that's where most of the infrastructure pieces went.
Awesome. But I don't know, I almost wonder if we should, I just feel like now we're gonna open up the whole theme for can of worms.
Yeah, I think let's bring it back.
Oh, yeah, Jessica?
Agreed. Real quick, when you were talking about the thing with the information kiosk, there we go, that's the word I was looking for. And looking at businesses and stuff, I can't remember when we talked about establishing like a business registry program, did we say that we needed to put that in the strategic plan? Do we want to put it in the strategic plan? Just wanted to throw that out there, assuming that if we did, it would go somewhere in healthy economy or something. Or maybe even, yeah, or maybe even engagement. I don't know.
Is that part of the, psilocybin? Part of that, right, that we needed to
Right.
establish that business registry?
Yeah.
I remember
Well,
when
it
we were
was
talking.
going to be, oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that it came out of that, but then I remember Chris saying that it needed to be or that he'd be interested in having a larger business registry program kind of thing, so that we can have better communications and stuff.
I remember talking at the meeting that the businesses that have job openings and the empty properties, we could open up. I mean, that's the way we would encourage those. I don't know if it's, I know it's not necessarily our job to post those, but can we put them on the city website? Philomath has these job openings, Philomath has these buildings open, and just with the contact of the owner or the boss or whoever it was they would contact, it seems like that would be helping to promote wage affordable jobs and the building of our downtown.
Yeah.
With any empty slots.
Sorry, Chris, what were
I
your?
didn't see that anywhere.
Let me just circle back on Councilor Andrade's comment. I'm thinking that we could add that action item about a business registry. I want to vet that out a little bit more, but under objective 2.2.2, it's probably a decent action item. there, so we'll look at that a little bit more. I think that's a good spot for it. Thanks for that reminder. Councilor Crocker's comments, there's a lot of staff time involved in some of that, but I think with the business registry, we could point to commercial realtors and that sort of bit, point them to the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, the chamber, those businesses should be leading the charge on current vacancies and those, and some of that's based on what they're capable and not capable of doing, but
I don't see it posted anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm not looking at the right spots, but it seems like.
it's out there. The realtors that are listed commercially, they're putting on LoopNet and all the different commercial realtor, websites. So if you're looking for property, they're out there. I don't think anybody's hiding listings or anything. So, well, let's do this. Let's just plan to bring this back. We'll focus on theme 4 and theme 5. A future meeting. I'm gonna talk to the mayor about what that might look like. I mean, we could look at that 4th Monday of February. I'm trying to remember if I've got a girls' basketball game for my team that Monday or not. So let me circle back on a date. Maybe we just hold it over until March. We've arranged for the city attorney to come and do a work session and do some training for us. We just penciled that in today. But anyway, let me circle back and we'll maybe find another date that we can hit this again. I don't want to prolong it too much. I don't want to speed through it either, so.
I think we can do it in 2 weeks and not, and not do any real business, but just do this. That might be handy.
And just keep a light agenda.
Yeah, but we can figure that out. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to give people a quick break. So we are going to adjourn the work session. It's 6:52 now, PM. And we will be back for regular session at 7 PM.